Or if you want to I'll just bring up pinch pots and I can ship out my 3 and you can ship out your 4. How's that?
So we're just swapping small stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll bring 4 or 5 things.
Okay, and yeah, like pinch pots or shot glasses, and I'll bring like 4 or 5 pinch pots.
Okay.
Cool.
I need to make note of that.
Yeah, me too. My reminders app has become my favorite app.
Okay, got it.
Friday.
Like I said, Friday morning, and it does 7 a.m. Fuck that.
Okay, cool.
9 a.m.
Yeah, I don't know if your mom remembers, but I have this bowling pin lamp that Dusty made, and I asked her if she wanted it, so I'm gonna bring it to her for Christmas.
Does it have a shade with it and everything?
No.
Oh, it's just a lamp. Like, is all the electrical there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'm not getting you guys anything for Christmas, so don't get me anything.
No, I don't think we were planning on it.
Good. I'm just setting the expectation.
I mean, I can't guarantee you Deech won't, though, but...
I know, but she's a mom, and I don't have to get her anything, and plus I'm getting her the bowling ball pin thing.
Yeah. Can you hear the show above me?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Let me get GarageBand.
I need to tell her. I'll tell her to turn down a little bit. I can hear it through my headphones, so...
So we're going to do the entrepreneur versus artist way of thinking, right?
Sure. I don't have much about that, but
That's okay. We can shoot from the hip. Dude, everybody has COVID right now. It's fucking crazy.
I know.
We're wearing masks at work now.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate it.
Are y'all still eating lunch together?
Nope.
Staggered lunches and...
Staggered lunches and masks. And I'm like, I don't fucking care. You know, I'm like past the point of caring, honestly. It's just...
I mean, I think when you work in a space where there's like 10 of you and you're spaced out pretty well...
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to breathe each other's air anyways, right?
Yeah, and like, I don't wear my mask when I throw. I refuse. Fucking refuse.
I mean, I get it when you're like walking around and crossing paths with people and all that, but when you're in your own space, kind of like working at your own desk, like in an office, if there's nobody within like 15 feet of you, why wear it?
Yeah, and I have 3.5 walls around me, like, and a fucking air purifier above me. Like, I fucking refuse to wear my mask when I throw. I don't know. I mean, I get it though. I get it. Like Merritt and Sarah do because they're in the middle of the room, but I'm like so separated. There's no fucking way I'm going to do that. And it's just like, I already have enough issues getting shit done in time.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if we added a mask to that? I'd be so fucking pissed.
Are some of them wearing like N95s though, or are they wearing regular ones? Like
well, Rebecca just bought a bunch of N95s for all of us. So.
Okay. I was going to say, I mean, if you're wearing the cloth ones, you might as well not wear one at all because
Omicron, I heard it doesn't even fucking help. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, yeah, so many people are getting it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I'm just trying to stay inside. Like, I'm not even going to the fucking grocery store before we come and see you guys. So.
Yeah. I mean, y'all probably have some options to get like COVID tested and stuff nearby. I'm sure. Did Rebecca and y'all talk to each other about like, here's where I got mine, or here's where you can get one if you need one, or whatever.
I'm getting the super shot on Monday.
Okay.
The boosted one.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly just because my friend in California said that if I was going to come and see her, she wanted me to get the boosted. So I was like, fine. But
I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they were actually checking people's cards to require that their people are boosted and stuff.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like we're about 2 or 3 months away from that.
I know, which is super fucking sad.
It just progressively gets more and more
Yeah. Oh, see all the people on they're all gonna know our politics now.
Like 4 people watch this, and I don't even think we could get much deeper into this. Like, this is surface level shit.
This is surface level shit. I keep seeing these memes about like, well, the White House basically sent out an email that was like or sent out a thing that was just like, if you don't get the shot, like, you can just bury yourself in the ground. Like, basically, like, go ahead and die.
That was on their website.
Yeah. And I was like, that is so fucked up. Like, I don't care what side you're on, but that's fucked up. Like,
yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
I mean, they're basically saying if you're unvaccinated, you will die if you get COVID. That's basically the way it came across. Like, you will die.
That's so
you will be sick. And yeah.
So fucked up. I'm like, I'm vaccinated, so it doesn't matter, but like, fuck, man. Fuck.
I mean, what do the people that are on that side like? That doesn't make them feel good at all. I mean, not that something on the White House website is supposed to make them feel good, but like, that's like they're completely against me, as if you didn't know that. But
like, peace, have a great death. Bye, guys.
We might need to edit this out.
No, let's just let them hear it and be like,
gosh, we'll get scolded for. We'll find out here in about 3 years when people start watching it for real.
Yeah, it will be canceled.
I feel like we're gonna I feel like at some point we're gonna probably release the episodes and just put them on the channel, because right now they're all unlisted. But at some point, I feel like when you're only getting like 5 people that might watch one,
yeah,
like, what's the point in just limiting it to Patreon?
Well, that's true. I do think that we should start doing something for Patreon, like I don't know, like a little tutorial or something. Like, we can put the, I don't know. We'll figure something out, but
like, I don't know what's a good thing to put in that space that is unique. I don't want to create like extra content, but yeah, I mean, it could be like super in depth, like you talking about a specific thing, or
right, and you talking about, like,
it could be like short segments, like we just talk about something for like 5 minutes. That's like, it's not a podcast episode, but it's like very focused on like one thing.
Yeah, totally. When do you want to start? Should we get a?
We should probably, yeah.
Sorry,
Did you see that I put all the what would you do ifs in there?
Oh no, should we do that and then a question?
Yeah, there's so many in there.
Okay, so
it's pretty funny.
Should we do the first? Can we just do the fucking first question about kilns?
Oh, studio practice focused, that one?
Yeah.
Sure.
And then, because this is good anyway, it's going to come out before NCECA.
By the way, did we tell anybody that we're basically not going to NCECA?
No, but we could right now.
Okay.
I don't think it's unreasonable for us not to go to NCECA.
No.
Not only is it a fucking COVID trap.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big reason why I don't want to go. Not because of COVID, but because like I don't like the way that they're doing things. So I'm like, I don't want to support that like way of doing things.
Well, and also it's like, oh, Omicron is coming anyway. Like, everybody's going to get fucking COVID regardless. And it's in California, which is like the highest, like the most populated place on the planet. And it's just like, I don't know. I mean, I'm surprised they're still even having it, honestly. I'll be surprised.
Are you going to be surprised if they shift to online?
They're going to cancel it.
Especially being there, like, they're not going to take the risk.
Mm-mm.
And not that NCECA wouldn't take the risk, but I feel like the convention center and like Like,
I mean, Northern California is a little bit more lax and there's a lot less people, but like still.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they had to shift to remote, which they already have a remote option. So it'd just be like, or like a online option. So it's like, how much would they have to actually shift?
Part of me like really kind of wants them to do NCECA because I told Merritt that I really want another bison tool.
So wait, she's going?
Yeah, she's gonna go. Yeah, because she has a ticket from like 2 years ago when they canceled it. So.
Oh, the actual conference ticket?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it rolled over.
Oh, the Richmond one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed going to that one. I kind of wanted to see that one.
Do you want to choose a what would you do if?
Are you looking at them?
I was. Yeah. These are funny.
Yeah. I like I mean, you said the $3,000 to spend on equipment. I mean, I feel like that would be a fun one.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get creative. Dude, I feel like the next time, if we do a new listener question thing, we should do the little bubble boxes next to it so we can just push the bubble box. You know?
The bubble box. What do you mean?
Like on the
we always do that.
No,
oh, you're talking about
on the listener
checklist
questions
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do that on the ones that we have. We just have to add it to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would. I mean, that wouldn't be hard.
And it wouldn't. I mean, that would honestly be good because then we just scoot it to the bottom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's true.
I can't do it on my phone that quickly, but. Okay, so while you're doing that, shall we start?
I'm just gonna do a couple. Okay, so so what are we? What's the framing of the topic?
I think the framing of the topic is like, what's the difference between an entrepreneur that approach versus an artistic approach? Like, you know, like I feel like a lot of artists approach business in a certain way as opposed to like entrepreneurs who approach business in a way that they are like, okay, how can I do this? And then how can I not work? You know, how can I make money? Not work, but like, how can I like make this and then have people work for me so I can make money so that I can not work, you know?
Well, I mean, it's kind of the mindset of it, right? You can still be an entrepreneur, but be a solo business person.
No, you can't.
Or you could be an artist and be a solo business person, but like the art is the forefront.
Right. And well, and that's what we should talk about. Like we can talk about all of that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna take these shoes off. I don't think I had my garage band. I feel like I had some crud in my sock or something. Rebecca has a sale tomorrow, doesn't she?
Oh yeah, I guess that they've been having just a bunch of people try and come to the pottery studio, so they just were like, just come to this fucking studio on this day.
Okay.
You know. Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, I thought they were coming to this studio where you're at. So they were coming. They're coming to the pottery studio. Okay. Yeah. Is there still a gallery space in there? There is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's like shit here.
So it was just like an organ. Like, do they actually have like a decent number of people that come when it's like a scheduled time like that?
I feel like they do, yeah. Like the one at the actual studio, yeah, there was a fuck ton of people that came. So.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, let me get this garage.
They did like 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 somewhere in there. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. One day for like a few hours?
Yeah.
Jeez. I'm sure those sales, she's just trying to like get rid of the
they
last
did $1,000 here at this studio, and this is out in the bumfuck nowheres in like a fucking apartment complex. Like for 2 hours, like 3 hours.
Yeah. Was she advertising that as like her stuff though?
No.
They weren't one-off pieces. Okay. 45 seconds.
Okay.
Test. Stop.
I hope your mom gets me an air freshener.
Delete. Okay.
You have 5 seconds.
Yeah, I'll be good.
Go. Oh, shit. I think I did. I don't know if I did it on time. Hi.
Fail.
We're live. I am a little bit, I'm like halfway through a whiskey Coke that I...
Okay.
When I bought this whiskey, I bought it from Costco with my friend probably 2 months ago, maybe a month ago. And I was like, I'm never going to drink this. The bottle is fucking gone. It's like completely gone. And I'm like, oh.
What kind of whiskey is it?
I don't know. Oh, Bullet?
Bullet? Oh, Bullet Bourbon?
No. No. It's one local to Indiana.
But it's a whiskey?
Yeah, it's like a bourbon. I think it's a bourbon.
Okay. But they sell it at Costco though?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like a holy shit bulk package. It's just like...
Yeah, no. Costco sells like the big bottles, you know? Wait, which one is bourbon? Is it Kentucky bourbon or Kentucky whiskey?
Kentucky bourbon.
Bourbon. Okay, so I think it's whiskey. This is made here.
Okay. It's more about the process than it is where exactly it's made.
Yeah.
I think bourbon technically has to be aged in barrels. And whiskey might not have to be.
Whiskey's aged in barrels.
I think it's based on the time or something. Or
I think bourbon and whiskey are the same thing. I think it's like a champagne situation. It can be named bourbon if it's made in Kentucky. It can be named whiskey if it's not. It's like champagne versus sparkling wine.
I should know this.
Should we look it up? I love these little Google searches. That difference.
Whiskey is a distilled spirit made from grains like corn and rye and aged in wooden barrels. Bourbon is a type of whiskey, and there are strict rules in place to ensure its quality. Bourbon must be made in the U.S., distilled from at least 51% corn, and aged in new oak charred barrels.
Okay. Well, that was the bourbon. What's the whiskey one?
Oh, that's what I started with. Whiskey's distilled spirit made from grain like corn, rye, and aged in wood.
Okay, but bourbon literally has to be aged
so bourbon is just
type of barrels.
Yeah, bourbon is just more specific. Like the formula has to be certain specific.
Got it.
And then the new oak charred barrels.
Did I ever tell you that I picked up like the most fascinating book while I was walking in Massachusetts when I was there once? I was walking to like Hartford. Harvard. I was walking to Harvard.
I was like, I think Hartford is in Connecticut.
It's in Connecticut. I was walking to Harvard, and I found this whiskey book on the ground, and it had like the whole history of whiskey. It was so fascinating, and I kept it for such a long time and ended up giving it to my friend who owns a whiskey bar. So that was fun.
Okay.
But
just found it on the ground, huh?
Yeah, I just found it on the ground, and it's in great shape, and it like has all the differences between whiskey and bourbon and all that stuff.
Wow.
And like how you can spell whiskey differently. It's WHISKY or WHISKEY.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we went on a I think it was like a family outing a year or two ago, and we went to the Evan Williams distillery. Like in Kentucky, there's no shortage of bourbon distilleries and stuff, and so we did like the tour. I like the tour a lot because seeing the process of like how stuff like that's made is really cool. And then we went to the tasting room and like garbage. Like, do we have any more pretzels in here? Because I don't like the taste of bourbon. So like, try this. Do the smell. Like, see how? And I'm like, it just stings in my throat. Like, no thanks.
I like the taste of bourbon, but or whiskey. I like all alcohol really, but yeah.
I'm a flavored whiskey or like rum.
Rum. Yeah, you're
the rum.
We don't have any more rum. How was your day?
Why is the rum gone?
Why is the rum gone?
My day. So I am off tomorrow. This is my last day of work before Christmas. We're recording this 3 days before Christmas. And Yeah, it's been busy for work stuff because we're trying to get a few things done for the end of the year, and then people are off, and I'm still working because I don't just like save up my PTO to just use it at the end of the year. I'm more of a like sporadically like trickle days off here and there. So like I had Friday off for my show this weekend, and then I got tomorrow off, which should be good, and then I'll have one day off next week. So but yeah, busy day with work, and then I've just been kind of getting a little bit in the studio, not a ton. I'm not really pushing myself too much since my last show was this weekend. So it's kind of weird. I'm like, I was spending a little time like watching TV, or I was like prepping an order the last couple days to go to a local shop here. So, I kind of took my time there. I was watching Ink Master. Do you know what that is? Do you know what that is? It's like a reality competition show with people that are like tattooing, which is kind of.
Oh, that's cool. Oh my gosh, I keep hitting the table. I'm sorry, I'm a fucker.
Which is funny because like I have no tattoos and have no intention of getting tattoos, but it's like, kind of a fun show that's like drama, but there's also like art and they're like critiquing and stuff. So, but yeah, I've just been kind of taking it slow. Got a little glazing done yesterday, and yeah, not too much. I'm just trying to plan a little bit for like what I want to make next.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God, Ryan, we're almost at the end of the year. We can do an end of the year wrap up.
I know somebody messaged me or us and said like looking forward to hearing how your goals went or something, or the end of the year kind of thing.
Oh fuck, I can't even remember my goals. I'm sure none of them were achieved.
No, I mean, I think some of your goals are like getting settled and like getting some consistency, like getting something that you were starting to dig into. I don't know.
I don't even remember.
We'll have to listen to that episode.
I'm excited for that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah, threw some big numbers on the board, so we'll see how we compare.
I'm excited.
Yeah, so that's coming up. We'll have to record that here in another week or two. But yeah, I'm kind of figuring out. I want to get back into like getting some things prepped to like give people, like the kiln log. Like I want to put that out there for people to like take and use and save if they want, and then I want to get that like Google Sheet stuff organized.
Yeah.
So that we can, or I can like, present that to people and like get some feedback and have something for people to start getting some valuable information out of it. Hopefully. Yeah. I think I have time to do that. So
I'm proud of you.
That's my next goal. I'm still trying to hit my number of pots goal for the end of the year. So I think I'm going to push myself to throw another like 100 or 150 things before the end of the year.
Well, yeah, but you can make them small things.
I know. That's why I just threw like 30 shot glasses. So
yeah. What's your year goal?
Well, it was 5,000 before, but I'm not going to hit 5,000 because of the move. So I'm trying to hit 4,500.
Sweet. That's great.
So
I think I hit 15,000.
Shit.
It'll be interesting by the end of the year what my year total will be.
Yeah. I think at the end of October, I was right at around like I needed another 300 per month or 320 per month to hit 4,500. So I think last month I hit a little over 300, and then this month I'm right at about like 215 right now, maybe. So I'll have to get another 150 or so made. So that shouldn't be too bad though. I got some spoon rests I can throw and some shot glasses.
So on November 20th, I was at 15,267. Approximately. Because I did that math with Siri. So we don't know for sure if that's correct, but pretty close.
What do you mean? Like at the end of the day, you say, "Hey Siri, something, something, something"?
Yeah, I go, hey, I'm not going to say it. Hey S, what's 12 plus 25 plus 400 plus 325 plus 200 plus... Yeah, and then it adds it all up. So I did the whole list, added up. So.
Wow. Okay. Because you keep a log each week, so you kind of know what to expect.
Yeah, for work. Yeah. And that's just work stuff. Like, that's not even personal stuff. I've thrown over probably 500 pieces personally, which isn't very much, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you see that as being useful? Like, did you ever keep count in your own practice?
No, but I definitely think you should. And I suggest Trello, honestly, because I do one every week, and at the end of the day, I just track what I made, and it's really easy. And like I use, if you're using different clays, which most people aren't, but I use different clays. So I have an emoji for each clay. So I have a bear for brown bear, and then a turtle for big turtle, and then I just add those up and then do the cost. So yeah, if you could figure out, I think that it would be really helpful for people, honestly, if they figured out their cost, quote unquote, for each piece and did the, you know, did the math. It might be
I figured out like a formula for it.
Yeah, it might be a good practice and see how much, because at the end of the year you could add up all that cost and see how much you like expenses essentially you made in pieces, you know? So that could be pretty good.
Yeah. So you're talking about definitely as you throw, like itemize out what form you're throwing so that you can know the material costs for those forms.
For sure. Yeah.
But then you'd also, in the end of it, you'd have to know the number of those individual pieces that you sold, right?
Not necessarily, because you're just estimating out your expenses, not your...
Oh, okay. You're just saying throwing wise, I made X
this
number
amount,
of dollars of material costs.
Yeah. Which might be a good practice. I mean, it would be a lot of work at the forefront, but once you figure it out, like let's say you throw a big bowl and that big bowl costs you $7 to make, then you just say, oh, I threw 20 of these $7 bowls, so I threw 140 of that, like $140 worth of bowls. So
yeah, I think the hard part of that is the kiln space thing, like how many you could fit in a kiln and like estimating that out.
No, I don't think that's important though. Like the kiln stuff, I don't think is necessarily for this particular situation.
So it's more like cost of clay with the pounds of clay and then the time spent making.
Right. Yeah, it's more like what would I pay a production potter to make this piece? You know, what would I pay somebody else to make this piece? And that's how much I spent, quote unquote, you know?
Yeah, I've never got that granular with it. I think Andrew has something like that. Andrew Linderman.
Yeah.
I think he has a spreadsheet.
Well, and it's like, I clearly have never gone that granular, but working for Rebecca, obviously you have to, like, I have a piece rate per piece. So,
yeah.
Oh, I have something exciting to share.
Do that.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your news?
Not something exciting really, but I was doing a story and I was thinking like, man, okay, well really what prompted this was that I feel like every single time I see somebody release a fucking book about ceramics, it's always like beginner's pottery.
I saw a new book come out too. Maybe we saw the same one.
Yeah, and it's like no offense to the beginner's pottery people, but and then there's obviously a market for that. But I was like, why the fuck is there no books for intermediate potters? like why are there no books for the people that like have their shit figured out and is like, what fucking BIS schedule am I supposed to use? Like I know how to turn on the kiln. Like, could you help me with the next part, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, that'd be so fucking fun to like make a book that was really short, that was like for intermediate people. And so I think I'm going to try. And I think that I'm going to try to do it in like a really elementary way, in a sense where I'm going to like draw illustrations and like do like hand-drawn shit and like misspell shit and like make it like
very... like a PDF book? You're not going to get this thing published, right?
No. I'm thinking that it's going to be electronic
downloadable.
Yeah, electronic
PDF download. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that way
You would call that an ebook.
An ebook. And I just feel like that makes more sense anyway.
I think you should record an audiobook of that too once it's out.
Oh, that'd be fucking fantastic. Like, who has the time to buy an actual book for one? And like who's like pulling out like who's like fucking like when you're like an actual Potter, like who's like fucking like, oh, let me check my book. Like, no, you're like, let me check my fucking phone. I think somebody texted me that schedule. like
and then you don't have a physical book, so you have to go to the digital book.
Right. I think it'll be great. Like, I'm really excited, and it's going to be really short. What did Joe was talking to me. He's like, this sounds fucking great. And I was like, yeah, it's going to be a really short book. Don't be an idiot. Make repetition the end.
I mean, usually the only like intermediate books are like mastering hand building or mastering the wheel, right. And it's like, okay, you're in this group, you're a hand building group, or you're in a wheel throwing group, and then it's like, what's the next step? And like, they seem kind of repetitive. Why isn't there any
books that are like, hey, let's talk about efficiency on your wheel, like where you should be putting your fucking water bucket? Like, why are you fucking right-handed putting your water bucket on the left side of your wheel? Like, that's fucking dumb. Like, put it on the right side. You know, I'm sorry if I just made you feel like you're dumb, but let's, you know, that's just me talking, and I'm a little boozed up. But
and that's exactly the verbiage that's going to be in the book. Don't be a fucking idiot. No.
Don't be a fucking idiot. Yeah. And so
audiobook really only, excited. Not safe for work.
I have like a week. I have a week kind of off. And I'm excited to like kind of get to it and do little sketches. And I was going to do it in Premiere, like on my iPad and like import text and stuff. So that should be fun.
I mean, wouldn't you agree that books are not the best way to get the amount of information about like these? Maybe that's why. Maybe it's because like even beginning, like I feel like even beginning, you can't like those hand positions and like the motions and telling you what to do with your hands. It's really hard to teach through a book.
Yeah, no, what a book needs to be, especially for somebody that's intermediate or something that's like, you know, been around town a few times, like what a book needs to be is like that fucking kiln schedule. The bisque schedule, the glaze schedule, like it needs like that solid glaze recipe, that solid white glaze recipe. Like I don't need a book. I don't need John Britt's book to tell me 15,000 recipes that I could potentially try out. Like I want a fucking white glaze that works.
But the number of times I've opened that book is like
so true. But what I'm saying is like,
I mean, that's the book that I've opened the most. And I don't read. Like I'm gonna look at that the most of any book that I have.
John Britt's book is prime. I'm not saying it's not, but you know, when you're a little bit ahead and you're like, God, I just fucking need a white glaze that works. Like,
right. Once you got your glazes settled, you don't really go to those resources anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you don't need that. You don't need that. Like, get a fucking good base. Get a fucking like good and like. Who knows a good fucking bisque schedule, you know? Like Josh has obviously shared that with us, but that's like limited information, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of stuff that I want to share. And like how to set up your wheel head so that it's efficient and, you know, just shit like that we kind of know, but that's because we've been doing it for 10 years, you know?
Yep, definitely. I want to see this book.
I'm excited about it. Also, I had a shitty cup sale that was like super spontaneous.
Yeah, the most spontaneous. I was like, what, did Becca just fucking wake up today and was like, you know what? Let's get rid of some shit.
Well, kind of. So like we had an open house at 201 Studios in Indianapolis. Like that's where my personal studio's at. Yeah. And it was great. Like I sold probably like $400 worth of stuff. Maybe $500 worth of stuff. And after that, there was like this whole table of stuff. And I was like, man, I should just fucking put this online right now.
Yeah, before you leave your studio, take some photos. And then it's like, okay, now I can.
Yeah. On Monday, I came in and I was like, I should just fucking sell this. And so I took pictures like in front of my fucking sign.
The thing I wasn't sure about, I was like, why did she not do it with the light in front of the pots? Because the light's in kind of a weird spot or something.
There's lights all over that room, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
And so I like took pictures and then I put them online, and then it was just like on stories. I was like, hey, I put fucking stuff up. So if you want it, take it. Ryan, I sold $1,000 worth of shitty cups.
My next question is, wait, when did you post it?
I posted it on Monday.
Okay, so they're definitely not shipped out yet, right?
No, they are all shipped out.
What? Mm-hmm. Look at you.
I know. And
what the hell is going on? This Becca, they get sleep or something. I don't know what's going
on. The listing said will ship out this week, probably. Well, I'll be honest, the only reason that I actually shipped anything out is because I have a person that I'm seeing, and his job starts at 8 a.m. and he bikes to work, and sometimes I just take him into work. And so I dropped him off at like 8 a.m. and just go to my studio.
Yeah.
And like stare at the floor for a couple minutes, and then I'm like, okay, I should probably get to work. So that's the only reason they're packed.
Love it.
So
did you have all your packing resources and stuff? You've been packing some things, so you're probably
I've been packing some things, but
what you need, right?
Yeah, like I was telling you, it's really nice to have a local packing supply. Like there's a local place called Cash and Carry, which is ironic because in Washington, Cash and Carry is a food store, like a wholesale food place, and this is like a wholesale box place. So yeah, and they're like right on my way to the studio, and so if I ever run out of anything, I can just stop in there at like 8 a.m., 7 or like 9, and it's like not out of my way at all, and I'm like, this is the best thing ever.
Nice. So I've been packing some more small boxes.
Yeah, I've been packing them with like paper and stuff, and you know, for the shitty cups, just because I don't want to deal with like wasting a bunch of paper, I just bought 4x4x4 boxes, and I'm individually packing. Like if I have an 8x8, so if somebody orders 2 cups, I put one of the cups in a 4x4 box, and then I put one of them just in the box, like without the little box around it, so that they fit, but they don't like touch each other. So that's my.
Yeah, I need it. That's what I need. I use the 4x4x4 for the for the shot glasses, and I ran out, so I need to get like 75 of those or something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, exciting, nice. I had a show this weekend too. It was.
Oh yeah, how'd it go?
It was a challenging Saturday because there was a huge threat of rain like the entire day Saturday. It rained all day Friday, and then the rain pushed north. So it was okay in the morning. Like I had a short sleeve shirt on, and I had the like hut, right? So it was like those 8x8 wooden huts that kind of looks like a concession stand, sort of, where it's got like a countertop that's half like at my waist, and then there's like an open part that is propped open, so people can kind of come up to the booth and shop. But most of the stuff is behind me, so they kind of have to pick out what they want, and then I bring it forward. And then I had a table out front with spoon rests and shot glasses on it. So those are my like heavy bought quantity items. So those are pretty good. And Saturday it rained about 1 o'clock. So it was raining for like 2 hours, and it was like dead out there.
Oh shit.
So a lot of people were getting pretty drained, like the vendors. So a lot of vendors packed up and left early. Like I felt bad for the people in tents, because they were getting, rain a lot, and they were kind of like they couldn't be in their tent or whatever. They were trying to straddle the tent and being outside and stuff. So yeah, a lot of people left. I would say 80% of the people left early on Saturday. And then sales picked up about 4 o'clock, and I sold for the day. I sold about $850 on Saturday. With more than half of that being after everybody left. So, like by the end of it, it was a show that was going from 11 to 6. Most people left at 3, and then I stayed till 5:30. There were only 3 of us left at 5:30.
Wow.
So it was the 3 of us in the huts. Like it wasn't too. It was starting to get a little windy and cold too after it got dark. So, and then Sunday picked up a lot. Sunday was great. There was some lulls, but it was pretty. It's pretty good. Like for the weekend, I sold $2,500. So,
fuck yeah,
pretty good. I did it last year too, and I think I sold 3,000 last year.
Nice. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, with Saturday being low, I was like, okay, Sunday's gonna be good.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good.
Nice.
Last show of the year. All right. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So.
Cool. All right. Oh, let's do a listener question. Wait, should we do the what would you do if first?
Yeah, let's do that one first.
Okay. You get to read it.
Oh. What would you do if you had $3,000 to spend on equipment?
I think that I would probably buy another wheel. A Soldner wheel. But
an additional wheel or a replacement wheel?
Ooh. Yeah, probably a replacement wheel for the one that I have.
Mm-hmm.
The one with the wooden foot pedal.
Then would those funds go back into that 3,000 if you sold your other equipment?
Good question. I wouldn't sell my other equipment. I'd use it as a trimming wheel.
Okay.
And I would get the S100, which is not the professional series. It's like the shitty series. I don't know what the S stands for. Standard maybe,
Soldner?
But Soldner series. I don't know. It doesn't have as big of a table, which I'm not a fan of, but it's more like my table, I suppose. And so I'd get a new wheel, and I might get that would be like $1,200, and then I might get $1,800. What would I spend that on?
Yeah, like if you've already got a lot of equipment, like that money could go a long way, right?
I'd probably get an extruder, which would be $600, and then we have like 600 left. Like 1,000 left. Like 1,000 left. So, $1,000. I'd get some fucking tables. You know what?
Tables?
I know that sounds dumb, but I'd get some fucking nice ass fucking tables.
Like work tables or like
yeah. And I could spend $1,000 on some tables.
What is that, like wood, like finished wood?
Yeah, like unfinished wood on the top, like butcher block on the top, and like some like those IKEA islands that I had at the shop.
What kind of legs do you like on that kind of table? Like, are you like an industrial like metal legs, or are you like wood legs, like heavy duty?
I would want, if I was gonna get some fucking tables like that, like sturdy ass fucking tables, I would want like drawers and shelves under it. I would want them to be used, all of it. So I don't really care what they look like, just that they don't wiggle, they can't wobble, and they gotta be like sturdy as fuck, and storage.
Yeah. Okay. 3,000. 3,000.
It's like a lot of money unless you think about buying a kiln.
See, that's tough. Like, I would, if I go with something that's like a luxury buy that I would never really buy, I would probably say advancer shelves.
Ooh, that's a great buy.
I don't know how long that would go. How long would advancer shelves?
Can I change my answer to?
You already answered, and you already have advancer shelves, don't you?
No, I don't. I sold them to Rebecca.
You sold them?
Yeah, well, they don't fit my kiln. So sad.
Okay, so how far would advancer shelves go? Let's say I got. I mean, how many would I need? Like 8? Like 6
no.
six half shelves, or 6 half
No,
shelves
no,
and 2
no.
full shelves or something?
No, you're gonna need 4 full shelves and 4 halves. So
Just 4 half shelves?
yeah, because you have mostly full shelves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that
What are they, like 200 and something a piece?
Yeah, I think that the full shelves are 200. I'm looking it up.
Kilnshelf.com, is that right?
Yes, kilnshelf.com. So the full shelves are about $200 a piece.
That's actually not as bad as I thought. A full shelf?
No, I lied. What size is your kiln? 23?
20, yeah. 23, 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
22-inch.
287 is a full shelf
Okay.
of a 20 by 20, which 21 is 307. So you can count on $300 per full shelf. So that's 4. So that's $1,200 plus.
Did you always put a advancer on the bottom shelf, or did you have a?
Oh, no. Regular shelf on the
Yeah,
bottom.
because you're not lifting that, so.
So 3 advancers. No.
I
3
mean,
advancers. So we'll just say $1,000 of advancer shelves plus
I mean, that's gonna be more than half
plus
of it for
800.
sure. Yeah.
Plus 800 for your 4 halves. So
it's gonna be like 2,000.
$1,700. That's $1,700.
Okay.
Whew.
That's a big chunk of change.
That's a good buy.
But that's gonna last me forever.
I approve of this message.
Okay. Because I was easily gonna say kiln, but I'm like I got kilns. I mean, I can just go advancers, and like that's gonna serve both kilns pretty well.
Yeah, and the advancers can like move from kiln to kiln unless you don't go. Like if you move
They
to the
work
same
in
side.
both kilns, so
Yeah.
I would say that, and then I would probably get. I have a boring answer. I mean, I would definitely buy like probably
What?
two sets of like brand new elements for both kilns. I don't know.
Yeah.
That
What
would
about
be an easy
extruder? I
buy.
feel like that could help
I
with
would
your like handles.
No, I would not do
No?
extruder. I would not use it.
No.
I mean, I'm thinking of like there's probably an optimal piece of equipment that I could have. I mean, the other big option that I was thinking of, which would probably use almost all that 300, was like the sink thing from Diamond Core, like one of those
Isaac was
standalone
just
sink
telling
things.
me about this.
Because I don't
Isaac,
have water running, so like I need something like that. But I would feel a little iffy spending the entire chunk of change on that.
Isaac was just telling me about the sink. So if you haven't heard about the sink, it's the Sink Classic mobile clay water recycling system. So
It's like 2 5-gallon buckets underneath a metal sink, and then it pumps water, and you have like a foot pedal to pump the water up, and you can like rinse stuff and all that. You don't need water attached to it.
yeah, it just like recycles the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Isaac, I'm like, this is what? It's $2,450.
Yeah, I think Amy Drummond has that.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's $2,450, and I was like, Isaac, you could show this to any engineer and get it for like half the cost.
Yeah.
Like anybody in town, and you can get it for half the cost. It's just a fucking pump out of 2 5-gallon Glaco traps.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I don't want to make one, and I'm like, yeah, but you could.
I mean, you could, but that's the point. Like, they also have like a nice big stainless steel like sink, so it's.
But it does look nice.
I was looking to like upgrade the sink in our old house, and I was like, how much would one of these like stainless steel sinks cost with like a little bit of a side thing? And it was like $300 or $400 for just the sink, I think.
Yeah, they're expensive.
And I'm like, it's pretty nice, but yeah, just the amount of like, well, it's also got to be like rust resistant and stuff with all the water. So I mean, it's probably the quality of the steel and all that that's a big part of that price. It's not like one of those. We used to I went to Covington Clay that was near here, and he has one of those there. I think it's just one unit underneath, and it's got the pump, but it's basically like a utility sink, like the plastic utility sinks, and it does the same thing.
Yeah.
But it was less of a footprint. I think the sink is a little bigger of a footprint, and that would be pretty big in my studio.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that would basically take up, half of a wall or something, or a third of a wall. So I got to figure out where it would fit. I mean, that's good if you're like rinsing a bunch of bats and like you have a lot of cleanup. But if I'm just using it for like rinsing off tools or cleaning my hands off after throwing and stuff, like it seems kind of excessive. So I'd much rather go with the advancer shelves.
For sure.
Okay. That was fun.
Yeah, that was good. Okay, so now we're going to a question.
Yes.
Hey, question. I've been saving up for a mini kiln. I have a larger Skutt that I got used, and I'm a Skutt gal. I love the KM818, but once you start adding shit, it costs a lot of money, starting at $16.91, and then another $800 for the environment and furniture, and I'm up to $24,858. What the fuck?
I think that makes me Enviro-vent, but yeah.
Yeah. What's a small kiln that you would buy? Could be swayed to another brand. I fire Cone 5 Max. Another. Would you buy in March because of NCECA pricing? Love y'all, Nancy Diaz Metz. Okay. What do you think? Oh, by the way, the 818 is the baby kiln, so it's a 3 cubic square foot kiln, or the 3 cubic foot kiln. Sorry. And it's about 18 inches wide by I think 24 inches tall.
Yeah, it's not super big.
No.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on their website. Okay, well, if you're firing cone 5, you would say don't get a cone 8. Is that right? No. Okay, get a cone 10.
Cone 10.
Okay, so you got to go to cone 10. I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about comparing kilns. I mean, I don't know. I mean, she's saying buy new. She's trying to buy new. I mean, I like my L&L. I don't know how the price compares, but
L&L is probably going to be about the same price.
Yeah. What's a lower price option when you're talking new kilns?
I think the Olympic would be a lower price.
And that would be like your baby kiln that you had, right?
Yeah, so the Olympic.
Jeez, Charles.
Maybe not. Yeah, Charles is running and hot today. Maybe not. The 1818 Olympic kiln. What size is the KM818?
It is 3 cubic foot. 2.6 cubic foot.
Okay, so 2.6 cubic foot. The 818 Olympic is. Oh, that's fucking cone 8. So $17.99. But that's like. So here's the thing. Here's the thing that I would say with the tiny kilns.
Like, and what are you adding to them too? Like, what would you be adding to these? Like the kits and stuff, like the shelving kits and the
shelving kits. You don't need posts because you already have posts for your other kiln. All you need is the shelves, right? So the shelves you could get so fucking cheap at your local shop. You know, like I wouldn't get the furniture kit that they sell you just because those shelves are so tiny. They're like 16 inches and they're super fucking cheap. I also don't think that venting a kiln that small makes any sense at all.
Depends on where it's at.
Personally, like I would put a fucking like flower vent. What is it? A greenhouse fan? A greenhouse fan in the wall before I would vent a kiln that small. And that costs you $50 as opposed to Enviro-vent, which is like ridiculous. But you can also vent it out. If you want to do it a cheap way out, you can do a fucking dryer hose, hook it up to the bottom, and just stick a fan in the dryer hose, and that works just as well.
It says the Enviro-vent 2 is $580.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, you can do a dryer hose and just hook it up into the bottom, and then you can put like a little vent fan that's in that hose that goes outside for probably less than $100. So that's what I would probably recommend.
Would you say getting your first new kiln? I don't know if she's getting the like Kiln Master touchscreen thing. Like, is that? Have you used those? And
yeah,
is it?
You should not be getting a fucking touchscreen on a kiln that's that small. That's ridiculous. Yeah. In my opinion.
In what situation would that be beneficial?
Never.
Like what lifestyle would you need?
If you're a millionaire. Like, it literally never makes any sense. Like, I guess if you were doing crystalline glazes, it makes sense. But it, like that, whatever.
Is it because it's firing so quickly that it's like the time that you're
fucking tiny? Like, it's so controlled. You know, like the top is going to be the same as the bottom. It's so small that it's just like everything's going to be the exact same. It doesn't make any sense to do anything like super extreme on a kiln like that. Like, if you have a 18-inch kiln, don't get a fucking touchscreen pad. Like, those cost money. And they really, and personally, I think the touchscreens, they're nice, but the other ones are more reliable. Especially if you're getting a Skutt. Those Skutt touchscreens, if you crack them, they're fucking done. And
touchscreen ones, yeah.
Yeah, and like, I don't know, I'm one of those people that less technology is better technology. So when you're dealing with the old controllers on a Skutt or an Olympic or whatever like that, a Bartlett controller, I'm a huge fan of like sticking with the old school. Especially if you're just doing regular cone 5 firings.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the other kilns to compare pricing. I mean, we talked about pricing back in the day on one of our episodes, and I'm going to have to dig it up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, but also, yes, you should wait until NCECA for sure.
Yes.
Their pricing will be a lot better. And also, me and Ryan are not going to NCECA, by the way. BT dubs.
In California.
Yeah.
It's episode number 69, Kilns.
That's like our new episode, Butts. Yeah. We like sets of threes.
Yeah. I didn't comma separate butts, though.
Butts. Mm-hmm. Somebody said that was our best named episode yet. Butts. Yeah. So we're 42 minutes in and we haven't even gotten to the topic.
All right. What is the topic?
Okay. So the topic today is actually based on something that Ryan said last week, because he was talking about how he has an entrepreneurial brain. And I was like, oh, it'd be interesting to talk about the difference between like an entrepreneurial approach to business as opposed to like the artistic approach to business, and like what we classically see like an artist approach as a business model as opposed to like an entrepreneur that it's a hard fucking word.
I like you trying to say that. You got through the first one pretty good, but
I know. I was really impressed with
entrepreneurial
approach to a business as opposed to like artistic approach. So that's kind of what I thought would be interesting, because I feel like a lot of potters are very artistic and they're not like business centered. So they approach their craft as more of an artistic investment as opposed to business practice. So I thought that would be fun to talk about, like the differences.
Right. And it's not to say that one is better than the other, or like you have to fit into one mold of you're either an artistic maker or you're a like entrepreneurial maker or something like that. So where do we start? I mean, I would generally consider myself more entrepreneurial than artistic.
Yeah.
Because when I'm determining what I want to make, or the before I dig into something, like I'm not just going to sporadically make something because I like want to make something for fun. I'm going to come into it with, you know, I'm doing this with the business in mind. So is this scalable? Do I like making it enough that I don't want to make a lot of it? Some people might benefit and really enjoy making things that are one-off, and they only make like 3 of them and they don't feel bad about making 3 of them. And it's like, oh, that was fun. That was like a little experiment. And they like sell it or they don't sell it. But like,
yeah,
in my mind, I'm always keeping it in the front of my mind that I want to make things and spend my time doing stuff that is going to be sellable in the end.
Right.
So that's where I would say it's more entrepreneurial. Plus, I'm like pretty data driven around, what I'm selling and the quantities of things so that I can like strategically organize how I make things so that I'm not like out of stock at a certain point.
Yeah.
I kind of plan ahead and think about it like that. So,
yeah, I think that's the difference. It's like, so you basically, your end goal is money.
Yeah, money.
I mean,
so
really,
that I
it
could.
is.
Yeah, it's money because in the end of it, I want to be able to do this full time. I can't be confident, and I'm like the way in which I work, like I'm not just gonna be a spontaneous like quit my job and just do this and give it a go.
Right.
Even though I'm like 5 years in and I'm like pretty confident in myself, but like there's still some things that I'm not as confident about. So like I want the data and the sales to back up, the money to back up the decisions that I can make in the future. So
Right. And like the way that I quit my job and started doing pottery was very much an artistic, like small business approach. It was like, oh well, I don't really want to fucking do this, so let's do this full time. Like we'll figure it out.
like you
I
don't
think
want to
that,
do something else, or the
yeah, it was like,
opportunity was there and you were like, you know what, I don't have other options right now, or these are my options. This seems the most enticing to me.
right. Yeah, it was like, okay, this is coming to an end. Let's try this. And I think that that's like the difference is that what I've seen from a lot of different people is like, okay, somebody planned this out and they planned out the process and they planned out their business plan. I mean, they have a fucking business plan and they
I do not have a business plan though. I'm
I
sure
know.
I could like put it on
Your whole
paper if I
fucking
had
life
to,
is a business plan.
but it's
Um but like, they planned it out and they like have an objective as opposed to somebody who's like, I really love this. I love this art and all I want to do is pottery. Like that's all I want to do and I got to figure out how to make this work. Like that's the difference. It's like coming in with an approach of goals versus coming in with an approach of like I
enjoyment
literally
and
can't do anything else.
yeah.
You know? And I think that both can work, but I also think that being an entrepreneur gives you an edge up because you're more focused on the bottom line as opposed to you're more focused on your products being so good and such a good quality that people love your stuff. Like I've noticed that when like especially higher end ceramics products, they're so focused on their product being so good that they forget that every time they're making a product, they're like spending money, you know? So there's not as much like there of course can be, but sometimes there's not any profit involved in the making process because they're spending too much time making and they're not spending enough time, you know, realizing that, hey, if I do this quicker or if I speed up this process, I can make more money doing this. It's more like, oh, I really love this process, so I'm going to do it this way, you know?
Yeah. And at what point does some of those like decision points I mean, it's a give and take, right? You have to like
matter.
say, you know, am I sacrificing quality because I'm speeding this up? Or
Right.
am I, you know, making I want to say am I like making sacrifices or whatever in my product that compromises kind of. I feel like I just said that. But you know, it's like a give and take of I'm doing this thing so that I can make higher quantity of them so like more people can enjoy them or something like that versus make fewer of them. I'm still undercharging for what I, you know, charge for them.
Right.
And then you're drained. I don't know. I feel like there's got to be a lot of people out there that make such like one-off things that they're just drained from the demand for their stuff. Or
Yeah.
maybe that's just social media makes it seem that way. But when you're making like 30 things in a month or something like that and it's like you sell them all out, how are you not like drained from that?
Yeah, like I'm like mentally drained from like producing those things.
Yeah, and so much is on the line with every single piece.
Yeah. That's true. It's so interesting like the differences, you know? And I think that almost you could split them up like production potters are more entrepreneurs as opposed to studio artists who are more like art centered, you know? Like a production style potter versus a studio artist who's making one-offs and doing updates. It's yeah, and I mean I think that definitely when you're like doing the one-offs and you're doing like the updates like that, you definitely have to have a certain like a certain amount of passion to be able to like commit to that and to finish it, you know?
Like
I don't have
commit to I'm gonna make these one-offs and this is gonna be
yeah.
my update of one-offs.
Yeah.
That would be like intentionally making different things. And it's it's like I just picture them like cutting chunks off the block, not weighing it out and like making one-offs. But like how would I would like intentionally like strategically make one-offs. Like how do I make it?
Well, it's not even that. It's just like, you know, every mug is a little bit different, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like as opposed to you where like every mug is basically the same. You know, it's like you're
Mm.
making 30 of the same piece as they're making 30 of the same form, but that doesn't mean they're not carving 30 different items on that form, you know?
Yeah. Or saying like I'm not going to use the same glaze on
Right.
any one piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'm just so mentally in the space of I want to know what's popular by having multiple options. So like having 10 or 20 shot glass color options gives me some data around what colors are responding with people so that I can
Yeah.
scale it up and do it on a bigger scale of like I want to try that color on mugs and see how people respond to mugs. And then
Yeah.
like oil bottles, but it's like oil bottles are very specific because it has to like fit with the kitchen. So when people are picking those out, they're like, well, what color is the counter? Or what color is my kitchen? So it's like got
Yeah.
to be very specific. They might not take that chance with a bottle that they did with a mug because a mug is more one off or it's in a cabinet or they bring it out a
Yeah.
certain day. So it's like it's not as part of a wider scheme of like the decor like a bottle would be or a vase or something decorative or like a spoon rest that's on their counter.
Mhm.
So like I kind of approach it that way and like I realize that there's different uses of those forms, but you know the I don't know that approach of the one off just makes me feel like you're really shooting and you're not sure if there's more uncertainty about whether it's going to sell or not, right? Unless
Yeah.
you just know the demand is there, no matter what you're making.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the way like I think that this is exactly like not proving my point, but like showing what I'm talking about. Like the way that you think is very entrepreneurial. It's like very business minded, very business centered. And so you're always looking at the future, you know, of what you can be doing and like how things can be done and the data behind everything. And like the fact of it is that a lot of artists just aren't built that way, you know, like, and how does, and so if they're not built that way, and if they're built in a way that's like, okay, I just want to make my fucking art and I want to sell it. Like, I just want to make money from it so that I can fucking do it. Like, how do they make that successful and still approach business in the way that they're going to approach it? Because you can't change people, right? You can't change the way that people think. So how do you make it successful when you're approaching your business that is your livelihood as something that's like, okay, we're going to be doing 30 pieces this month, and this is what you know, this is what I'm going to be doing. Like, how, I don't know, like, how do you, how can you make an unanalytical person work in an analytical world, I suppose, is what I'm asking.
I mean, I think the way that I guess the way that I would approach it may not, I'm trying to meet in the middle a little bit, but I feel like if I were to tell somebody or encourage somebody to try to think that way, I would just ask general questions of, what do you have that's popular that people buy a lot of? Like, start there, like form wise. Okay. Most people buy, you know, mugs. Okay. If you know mugs are going to sell, if you care about the like making sure you can pay yourself and like the bills, then you have to make X number of things that is a high percentage of your production for a month should be things that you know can sell.
Yeah.
So whether it's mugs or it's spoon rests or it's something else that you know can sell, then you know, you should start with that. And then I would say, you know, figure out what's a good goal for you. Is it a month at a time? Is it 2 weeks? Or is it like the day? Like today I'm going to, I feel like you have to balance out like making stuff you don't necessarily enjoy making all the time with stuff that you enjoy making. So it's
I'm glad you said that.
If you know that mugs are going to sell and you're like, I fucking hate mugs, like, sure, figure out another way around it. If you can make something else and it makes up for you not having to make mugs, then figure that out. Maybe it's making something else that is like more niche, but you can price it higher and you have to sell fewer of them to make it work. But if you just really love making something that people just don't buy a lot of, then you're just going to end up like hurting yourself in the long term because you just get left with stock and you can't sell it. But you should have spent some of that time making mugs or making something that you know would sell, even if you're just making like a little bit. I mean, I think you gotta have to balance it that way. Like, you have to treat yourself a little bit, and the pieces that you really love making the most, like, are kind of your treat. And then the pieces that sell and that actually pay your bills are the things that you need to do like on a constant basis, like regularly. And not to say that they have to take up 75% of your time, but maybe making stuff that sells and people buy takes up 50% of your time.
Yeah, it's like 30%. You have to like kind of like, you know what's interesting is that I feel this is what I hear when you talk like that. I'm like, you have to sell your soul 50% of the time. Like, that's, if you want to be in business, you have to sell your soul 50% of the time. And I feel like that's like a hard truth. You know, it's like a hard truth to have in business. Like, I was talking to Merritt, who is one of my coworkers, and she does these amazing carved mugs. Like, they're beautiful. And she's very, very, very much the artistic approach, like looking for, you know, she carves everything. It takes her a bunch of time, and she's trying to find something that she doesn't hate doing, but is a little bit less of a like a little bit more
thing.
passive. Yeah, like a little bit more passive than what she's doing. That's kind of like an in-between that still satisfies the masses, still like sticks with her style, but doesn't take as long, and she doesn't lose money doing it. And we've been kind of like going back and forth, and I've been, you know, spouting out ideas, and what I love about her is she's like, nah.
What's her
she's
Instagram?
Like, Merritt Metzger Art, I think.
Is it M-A?
Marret is her name.
Merritt Metzger, okay. Yeah, I think that's where you... Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I feel like you have to have lines of work.
Yeah, it's...
I mean, the lines of work really breaks up your level of, like, if I only made carved stuff, I would drown in having a bunch of pieces that don't sell, and I would have to wait for them to sell. Like,
well, and she has stuff that sells. Like, she sells quite well, but also I think that it's important to note that, like, not everybody makes it on Instagram. You know, like the people that have made it on Instagram, like, let's say like Pitch Pine Pottery, you know, she does carved mugs, and that's like what they do, and they sell out every time, but not everybody does that. So you kind of have to find, like, they make it work because they have the audience to make it work. But you know, when you're in the beginning of your pottery life, you don't
and they've
have
grown that audience over like 7 years or something like this.
Exactly, over all this time. And if you're in the beginning of your pottery life, like I was also talking to one of my friends about this today, it's like the first year you're gonna fucking suck. Like, your Instagram is gonna fucking suck, and then you gotta figure it out, and then it gets better. And like, how do you still sell your stuff and still make a living while you're still figuring out like that Instagram life, you know? And like how to kind of like move that around. And I think you're right. Like, you just have to kind of figure out something that appeases the masses, but maybe doesn't appease your soul as much, but it's like manageable. You're like,
I know what I
do
would recommend to her. So looking at her stuff, like her forms are really good. Sometimes, you know, you have like a heavily designed thing, and the carving kind of like is the enticing part.
Yeah.
And it covers up, like, even if it's a shitty form, it could be like the carving really makes it, and it makes it worth it. But like her forms are good as they are, even if they didn't have the carvings on them. So I would say, like, make these forms without the carving and figure out a way to glaze it that is simple. You don't do any carving on it.
Yeah.
Like, she's got some good glazes, and I would say just have the same like profile and the same form of mug. And I don't know what the mug costs. I'm guessing these mugs cost 60 plus, something like that.
Yeah.
And then she could probably sell that mug for $35.
Yeah. That's true. I don't know if she wants to go that direction. And like, that's also the thing, you know, is I don't know. I
Like,
don't
just
want to
make a
speak for her.
handful. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe she
I
makes
don't
a
want to speak
handful,
for
and
her, and
you know what I'm saying. That's the kind of that's the way I would approach it. I would say, how do I, you know, are the forms the thing that people are enticed by, or is it just the carving? You know.
Oh, that is interesting. Like, if it's just the carving or the forms, I mean, like, she's got birds. She's got a bird crowd.
A bird crowd?
By the way, go follow her because she's fucking amazing, and she's one of my coworkers. And seriously, she's like you saw them, her pieces are phenomenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we can stop talking about her because I know this is gonna make her anxious. But
No,
but yeah, I mean,
but that's the way I would approach it. I would think of a way that you, or if like your glazes are amazing and you have these shapes, like maybe make some simpler forms that are kind of wabi-sabi mugs or wabi-sabi cups that look really good, and then your glazes can shine on them, and you don't have to do anything fancy to them. Maybe you're known for like sanding bottoms of pots a lot, or doing like heavily trimmed things. Maybe you don't do that.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach, like, just to kind of like simplify the way that you're doing things. It's funny because I was talking to a friend, and he was like, "Oh, we sand all of the bottoms of our pots, even if they're going out to like wholesale." And I was like, "Fuck, don't." I was like, just don't,
Like heavily sand or just like
I think heavily sand, but like, yeah, they use like 60, 120, 340.
Okay. If you're sanding more than just one sanding pad, like, yeah, I would say that's heavily sanded.
Yeah, so that's pretty heavily sanded. And it's like, hey, like, let's give them a good quality pot. And in my mind, I'm like, I mean, they're paying wholesale price.
Are they paying for that quality pot?
In my mind, it's like that. But like, also, I appreciate the fact that they're trying to give the best pot that they are. But like, I also live by the motto of Calvin and Hobbes, where it's like C's are like the way to go. Like when I was growing up, I always read Calvin and Hobbes. And there's like this one comic that like they're sitting in class and the girl that he always like messes with, she gets an A and he gets a C, and she's like, oh, bummer. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm fucking great with a C. And she's like, what? He's like, bummer for you. And she's like, what? And he goes, well, if you always shoot for a C, then they don't expect any more of you. If they and then when you give them more, they're like super surprised, And I've kind of like always lived my life like that, and it's worked quite well for me.
I was always like A-. Like I would say my average is like A-, but like A for the generally A, but like A-.
I'm like a C plus B, and like that's where I'm at. And, I always shoot for the bottom of the barrel. I'm like, don't expect this to be great. And then they're fucking great. Or like, don't expect these to ship out this week. And then they ship out on Monday. I'm always that person.
Setting expectations low and trying to deliver high.
Yeah, exactly.
Or medium or high.
Yeah. Medium or high is my sweet spot. And so, but yeah, I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, but I've always operated under the basis of like, when it's wholesale, you just like fucking get it out. Make sure that it's not a second, and like, just get it out, fast as you can, because you're getting paid half of what you would, And so, but yeah.
When you mention wholesale, that's, I wonder how different people perceive some of those kind of things, like opportunities that come up. Like, do they generally get overwhelmed, or are they quick to agree to like, oh, I want to take on that challenge and let's do it, and they jump into it? Or are they like, I'm too busy focusing on making this thing for this update, so I just say, oh, I can't do that right now?
Right.
Versus like seeing if it's something that is in my wheelhouse of like something I want to do, but maybe it's not the right time, or saying like I can do it, and then figuring out a good schedule to say like I can do it within 7 weeks or 6 weeks.
Right.
That way that like I'm going to be done with this thing in the next 2 weeks, so that I'm like filling up my backlog of things that are going to come next, so that the business keeps progressing forward and I'm not reactive to things. I'm being proactive when opportunities come my way. I don't know how people generally take, like, I'll get messages on Etsy sometimes and it'll be like, hey, I want to order 30 of these shot glasses for a wedding party or something. And maybe I have 30 on a shelf, but they're not finished, or they need glaze or something. So, I kind of go down that route of like, figuring out what they want, what colors are good, and like taking on the opportunity. But also, like, I'll be fine if it's like something comes across me and I'm like, you know what, I don't really want to do that. So like, I'll say no, like, sorry, I can't do that right now.
Well, I think it's different too. Like if you're doing a primarily like art-based ceramics situation, so like let's if you're doing carved pieces, okay? So if you're doing carved pieces and every piece takes you an hour to do, let's just,
Yeah.
It takes an hour to finish a mug, okay? Front to back, or beginning to end. If somebody approached me and I was doing carved pieces and was like, can you do wholesale? I'd be like, fuck you. No. Like, no, I will not do wholesale, because I'm not cutting this price in half, and I'm not even cutting it at 70%, like, or 30% down, Like, I think that's the difference, right? Looking at it from, you're looking at it from a business perspective where you can make things fast, as opposed to somebody who's looking at it from a more art-based perspective where it takes fucking time. It takes time to do that shit, you know?
I wasn't talking in relation to that specific use case. I was talking more time management.
Right.
A lot of people that get those inquiries, are they equipped to manage their time and accept opportunities when they're sporadic like that?
Right.
Or are they quick to jump in, but they may not have the time management skills to plan accordingly and promise a good timeline that they can actually meet, that's realistic?
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if that's totally a business skill, I think, of being able to time things appropriately.
Oh, for sure.
And then also in relation to like the other balls that you're juggling, like the shows, or, some people may not be able to manage doing, a show and an online update, or like in the same month, maybe.
Right.
Like maybe they don't have the backlog of stuff to inventory to do that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that goes with like commissions too, like same, as far as like a more artistic approach to ceramics. If they're going to get a commission for 20 mugs or whatever, and it's same as like wholesale, but it's like, okay, do I have enough time to add this on to my regular schedule? And I think
is there any flex in my regular schedule?
Yeah, is there any flex?
Am I really pushing this regular schedule as it is? Because you can count on something's going to come up, whether it's something else business related or non-business related. Like something is going to come up in those 2 weeks that you can't plan for.
And can I finish this in time? Yeah, that's totally true. I don't know. I mean, that's tough. Like I'm like I said, shoot low, aim high. I've always been in that position where I'm like, oh, it'll be 3 weeks and I deliver it in one. Like I've always done that, where I'm like way ahead of what I do. Or
is that a slightly calculated 3 weeks? Like when is it like in the moment answer, or is it like email, you have a day or two to think about it, and then you're like, okay, 3 weeks is good?
No, pretty much a month is like, if I would say, okay, it's going to take me a month. But no, that's not a calculated ad. Well, it is calculated over 10 years.
From experience, yeah.
Yeah.
To at a minimum give yourself like just for sake of commitments like that.
Yeah. Yeah, to give myself a month. But and then it's like, oh, it came up and I can do this in 5 days.
Yeah, I feel like it's worse to say it's going to be 2 weeks and then can't meet 2 weeks, and then you say, oh, it's going to be another 3 weeks, and then or another week, and then you're like, oh, well, my kiln had issues. Like a customer would rather hear 4 weeks and get 4 weeks, and you stay communication with them. Like, okay, your final stuff's coming out. Here's a photo. Here's what it looks like. If you're all satisfied, make the payment. I'm packing it up, shipping it out. All that. Like, I'm pretty low communication. Like I set the groundwork when I send the invoice and stuff like that. So I know what to expect, pictures, make sure I get all the answers out of the way so that there's no questions. And then try to meet the timeline as best I can and manage the timeline on my side. And I try not to give any excuses to anybody because they have their own shit going on. I mean, they could be relying on this thing. So I try to meet the deadline as best as I can.
Right. Yeah. There's been very few times that I've been like, I literally cannot get this done in time. like something blew up and I'm fucked. There's been, I think, maybe 2 times that's happened. But
yeah. I mean, be honest. I would say if something does come up like that, I'll try to be as honest and upfront as quickly as I can, so that they can manage, what and then give them some options.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I would say the things that I'll like drop the ball on the most though is usually when it's like experimenting a little bit with like a commission or something, and it's like, yeah, that sounds good. And then I'll say, let me make some samples. And those samples take me for fucking ever. Because they're just...
Let me make some samples and get them to you next year.
Like, it will honestly take me... Especially just... I don't know if it's just, like, because you're talking through email or something, or... Like I've got like a note card with like a name on it and it's got some descriptions on it, but it's like, it's not my number one top priority. And it's not something that I want to dig my heels into immediately.
Yeah.
Because it is something that like I'm not as comfortable doing because it is new. So, making samples and going through that struggle a little bit, like sometimes I just want to like zone out a little bit and make something that I know exactly what I'm doing, So
yeah,
those are the things I tend to take longer at.
Yeah.
Because there's not like a deadline. It's like it's on my shoulders to be like, okay, I'll contact you with some feedback and I'll give you a price and stuff after I make some samples.
Yeah. I think that it would be really interesting to have somebody on the podcast that's not famous. Not famous, but making a full living doing pieces that are more than production.
What do you mean more than production?
Not more than production. I like, doing carving or doing like an added aspect that takes time. Like an hour per piece or whatever, and is selling their pieces at like a $70, $80, $90.
I have somebody in mind.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. They're local to me.
Oh, damn it. I was gonna guess. Fuck.
I mean, local to me, does that give you any hint? Like, I don't think you're gonna guess.
No. Okay. Well, yeah, it would be interesting to talk to somebody to see how they operate their business and how they keep above, like keep in the black, not in the red,
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously there's a way to do it. Obviously, like, another Seattle artist has done it. Like, Hammerly's done it. Well, he's more production. Like Pitch Pine Pottery's done it. But they're still adding a production aspect to their pieces, and they're still like selling hundreds of pieces in an update, like they're selling like 50 to 100 pieces in an update. So how are they making it work financially when they have these added elements that take time?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the person I'm thinking of doesn't create that quantity.
But they live off of it.
It's heavily decorative, and they've been doing it for like 30 years.
Is it that person that was at the burrito show?
No.
Oh.
I don't know who is at the burrito show, but it's not that person.
The outdoor stuff like
Oh,
that?
I know who you're talking about. No, I wasn't talking about them.
Okay. But yeah, it would be interesting to talk to them to see how they have stayed, in the black.
Do you watch my stories on a frequent basis? I shared this person on my stories about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, fuck that.
Or 3 weeks ago.
I don't know who that is.
Do you remember Terry Kern?
No.
The one that does the painterly stuff on pendants and sculptural stuff? That's who I was thinking of.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so. Let me look. Is it Teri?
Terri.
Okay.
Kern.
There we go. Oh, yeah. Okay. I follow them. Yeah, that is very painterly. And she does it full time?
Yeah, she's been doing it for like 30 years.
Oh, yeah, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, she's got some. She would have some good business sense and some years of, backlog of like how she's shifted the business or how she's got to the point where she's at.
Yeah, that would be perfect. It would be interesting to talk to her and like see what she's had to sacrifice versus what she's like added,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about the artistic side. Like, what else? What about the like actual? I mean, I always approach it with, keep like the books. I'm very aware of the accounting and the financial side of it. Like at a glance, I could look at it any day of the week. Like I kind of know how the business is doing any day of the week because I keep track of it. Do you think that comes secondarily to the artistic maker generally? Like it's not an afterthought, but it's like, it's more short term. Like, am
Maybe.
I good for this month, or how would you encourage that? Because like I'm very listing everything and keeping track of everything. How would you say that the artistic minded person can be better about knowing where they're
being on track?
Yeah, being on track, or just getting a good sense of, where they're at financially, I guess.
Yeah, I think that it takes time. I do think that it takes time, but like, let's say, you're selling 30 pieces a month. I think that that's a pretty good base start if you can average out your piece price and average out the time that you're making to spend those, to do that. Like, let's say you're doing 30 to 40, whatever. I think that it, like, you're very detailed. Like, I'm super simple when I do my stuff. Like, I'm a very simple person. So I'm like, $15 a mug, $15 a cup. Like, how much does that give me? As opposed to you, who's like very detail oriented. And I think that for somebody who's more, and I actually am more analytical than I am artistic or creative. And I think that maybe for somebody who's creative, to keep it as simple as possible is the key, because keeping it simple means that you don't have to work as hard thinking about it, So like, just doing instead of saying like, oh, it cost me $5 to make this and this to this, and like doing it once where you're like, okay, a mug cost me $25 to make. Like, just average, an average mug cost me $25 to make. Just doing it once where you calculate that out, as opposed to doing it like for every piece or whatever thing like that. Just being like, okay, I'm good enough with an average. And then being like, okay, if I'm going to sell them for $90 a piece and they cost $25, how much am I making? And then figuring out your time and subtracting that from that. I think that that's more simple, as opposed to like doing more of like the data processing stuff. Just doing like a simple math situation. Like, this month I'm going to do 30 mugs and they're all going to be $95, and saying I sell all of those, this is how much I'm going to make. And if every mug costs me $25, this is how much I'm spending. Like, that's it,
How do people, I don't know how this works, but how do people that sell and they're paying themselves, how do they determine how much they need to pay themselves? Are they saying, I need to sell 30 mugs and that's going to pay me, I need to buy clay for this month so I can make mugs or make stuff for this month. So I need to spend $100 on clay this month or something. Well,
yeah.
I don't know. $100. What's that going to buy you? 4 boxes of clay? 3 boxes of clay?
Yeah.
So let's say that, I would say it's probably more like that, of like, I need to buy $400 in clay very shortly. So I need to be able to pay for that. Or I need to buy new elements or something, or, stuff like that. Or glazes or whatnot.
Like, how do you pay yourself? So
how do you pay yourself? Are they going from like, I need to sell X number of pieces to make $2,000 in profit, or in money, so that I can pay for my clay, and then I need to pay myself like $1,000
for rent and for
I need to pay my $300 in rent. I need to pay for my clay. Like, do they go into that, and then they're taking a pot of money out, or is it, and then like, this needs to go to taxes, or how do they do that?
Well, like, everybody does it differently, obviously, but when I was doing stuff, I think that I think that was the biggest mistake that I made starting off, was that I didn't pay myself a consistent amount every month. So I wasn't like, it was like, oh, I have $3,000, I'll pay myself $1,500. It was more like that, and I'll figure it out.
It was reactive to what you were selling, kind of.
Right. It was more reactive to what I was selling, and I would say that a lot of people do it that way. I'm not saying that, like, obviously I don't see people's bank accounts, but I would imagine that a lot of people do it that way. And I wish that when I'd started out, I would have been like, I want to pay myself $800 every week, I want to pay myself $400 every week. And so that equals $1,600. And that's enough for me to live on, blah, blah, blah. And obviously those aren't real numbers.
Is that a motivator of like, I'm going to auto pay myself X number of dollars?
Right. So I have to have the fucking money, to pay myself.
Need the money, find it kind of thing. Like,
yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think that I wish that I would have done that so that auto drafted out. So I was like, fuck, I have to get this done now. Like Larry Bruning always said,
because your mortgage payment, like you can't just put off your mortgage payment or you can't just like stop. You your have apartment to pay your rent. So
yeah. And I think that I wish I would have done that because it like puts this like drive into you that's more of like a drive to survive situation. Like Larry Bruning always said, once you add kids to the table, you have to figure out how to make the money work. Like once you have to feed your family, you figure out how to find the money, and it's the same sort of situation, even if you're single or just married, and you don't have any kids, but like you do really have to find the money. And I think that I wish I would have set myself to that standard because it's so easy as a single owner business, like, a self-employed business owner to just be like, I'll take $300 out today. And then I'll take an owner's draw out tomorrow. And like, I need this today. It's so easy to do that, but I wish that I would have given myself like a monthly paycheck or a weekly paycheck. And I do think that if you're thinking about that now, you should give yourself a weekly paycheck, not a monthly paycheck or a bi-weekly paycheck. Weekly is so much easier to manage, by the way.
Is that just so that the money trickles in because bills become needed to be paid like throughout the month? Like my phone bill is the 15th and my rent is due on the 1st. And I go to the grocery once every couple of weeks or something. Or I need gas twice a month or something,
Like I get paid weekly at Gravesco, and I was talking to Rebecca about it, and I was like, I can't even imagine getting paid bi-weekly or monthly. And she was like, oh my God, if I had to pay you guys monthly, I'd have to have $50,000 in my bank account at one time. Like that's fucking stressful. But if you do it every week, it's not as stressful because you're like, okay, I paid myself $400 this week and I have to find $400 for next week. And that's a lot easier to manage weekly as opposed to monthly, Yeah,
that does sound more manageable.
Yeah, like definitely. if I was like, okay, personally, if I was like, okay, I have to pay myself every 2 weeks and I was at the end of my 2 weeks and I only had $400 in my bank account, but I needed to pay myself $800, I'd be like, fuck, how do I fucking do this? But like every week, if you're like, okay, I got to pay myself $400 next week, I'm like a little fucking low this week. So next week I gotta bust my ass and find some money, It puts you in like a motivation situation.
Is it like find some business money, or is it like
find business money?
I wonder where at that point where you're like, do I don't know. Is there a lot of like straddling two things of like how can I find some quick money elsewhere? Or like sell some things or like I don't know.
Well, I think it's anyway, really. I mean, but if you're not finding money in the pottery world, then maybe you should consider what you're doing. So
I think if you're paycheck to paycheck pottery, like small business pottery, like that's a tough spot to be in. Like chasing. I mean,
that's 99% of the potters out there, Ryan.
No, I don't think so. You don't think you think 99% of the potters out there are single pot I'm talking about side hustling people as well. You don't include side hustlers in potters?
Okay, no. I mean, I do, but like for the people that are doing it full time, I would say 99% of the people are paycheck to paycheck.
Really?
That's the reality. Yes, Ryan. Not everybody is as good at money as you are, and not everybody makes as much.
Even the ones that are super successful, you think
Yes.
they're still 1% of that group, or they are in that group? Or you said 90%.
I think
99%.
that the people that we see that sell out, I could name probably 4 potters that I don't think are paycheck to paycheck. And I'm not going to name them, but I do think that most people are trying to find their next fucking paycheck and they're just getting by. And that's the reality of it. And it's just like, and it's not because they're bad with money. It's not because of anything. It's just because pottery's fucking hard and you have to work using your own body and your own mind and your own hands to make the things that you're selling, you know? In my opinion, the only way you can really make a shit ton of money doing pottery is if you get super successful on Instagram and are business minded enough to actually make it work, or B, you're fucking East Fork Pottery. Like that type of establishment where you're
heavy overhead, but you have an even heavier demand and customer base.
I mean, there's only so much that a human person can do with their hands. It's like, yes, obviously there are some potters that are making it just fine, but I would say most people in our profession are like, okay, this is what we got to do to make the paycheck this month. You know?
I don't think it's 90%, but
I do. I think it's I do.
I don't know how many potters there are, full-time potters out there, but
I've never fucking met one of them that had their shit figured out. Even Bruning pottery, they were trying to figure out. Like, they had They have like 8 employees, like a $2 million building. Like, even them were trying to figure out how they're going to pay their next paycheck. And I think that that's the reality of small businesses. And it's just, and that's kind of what I was thinking about when I was thinking about the difference between like an entrepreneur versus a business owner. Like I think of entrepreneurs as entrepreneurs as like the people that come into a business and they're like, how can I delegate all of this to everybody? And they have very little to do with the actual work at hand, but they're but they're the ideas people, as opposed to somebody who owns a small business that's very like close to home and they're working every day and they're doing the like manual labor, but they're not like passing off that manual labor. You know, like entrepreneurs, they're like, I want to make money. Entrepreneurs are like, I want to make fucking money. And business owners are like, I want to sell my product. That's the difference to me. And and I don't know how to totally convey that, but like when I see in like Forbes 500 where it's like, oh, the 20 top entrepreneurs of 2021, they're like the tech people and all these people that have like invented things and then just passed it on and become billionaires.
Yeah.
And as opposed to these business owners that are busting their ass and making ends meet and still doing a great job, but they're like, it's almost like business owners are suffering because they're working so hard for such little, you know? And it makes me sad, but at the same time, they're like,
go ahead.
Oh, go on.
It makes you sad, but at the same time,
it's like that's what you choose, you know? You're like, this is my choice.
Yeah.
To stay up at 3 a.m. and do this, you know?
Yeah, I was looking up entrepreneur, Googling it here.
I did that too.
It says a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses taking on greater than normal financial risk in order to do so. I mean, would you not consider a small business owner that definition?
No, I absolutely would.
That's just the way that you think of it in your mind, entrepreneur, as the
like
venture capitalist person or the tech person that comes up with an idea and they make it big, or they sink and fail.
Yeah, or they like super fucking fail. Like, and you never hear of them again.
The Shark Tank people, or,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah. When I think of entrepreneur, I think of Shark Tank. Which isn't necessarily bad, but they're like creating something that's new. They're not recreating something that's been here for years. You know?
Yeah, the way I think of it is just you're a solo business owner. That's the way I think of the entrepreneur is all as well. Like solopreneur, I think there's like a
solopreneur.
I think that's the thing.
Let me look it up.
But yeah, it's like you still have
solopreneur.
Like you still have to do all the same stuff, and you have to figure it out for what works for you. I think that's what makes the business minded way of like, you have to figure it out financially, and you have to make it work with what your skill set is, what your tolerance is for like work, like how many hours you can work, what you can physically do, what your mental capacity is. Like all of that goes into that for me.
Okay, I found something really interesting. I looked up the difference between solopreneur and entrepreneur, and I really like what these say. These are just the bullet points at the top. It says solopreneurs are both founders and employers. Entrepreneurs often hire and manage a team. Solopreneurs have a single business focus. Solopreneurs are not building a business to scale, and I think that that's probably where I'm kind of like, that's where I like see that difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Differences in financial management, obviously. And solopreneurs often have minimal workspace requirements. So it's like you can work in your home as opposed to an entrepreneur that's like, I need a fucking
You need a factory space. Or like,
yeah,
you need equipment space. Or room.
And that's and so that's kind of like how I was thinking of it. And like, I don't think that we're meant to be entrepreneurs. I think that we're meant to be solopreneurs as doing pottery. And it seems interesting when you do kind of like stem that entrepreneurial like bridge as a potter. It seems very interesting to me, like how you get there and like how you make it work. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the pottery making is just like learning how to maintain. How do you maintain for a long period of time and build consistency, and also have little nuggets of like growth there of not, I mean, you're growing over time, but like the little nuggets that can like help your business a little bit at a time. It doesn't have to be some new groundbreaking product that you build that's going to like, set you into the stratosphere of like business success. It's like, what are these little things that you can figure out that, you find a customer base or, a demand for your stuff that people resonate with, that just make it a little bit easier on you because there's that demand for your stuff and you enjoy making it or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's where, I feel like we talked about this a little bit before, but like the whole maintain versus like innovate. Like so much of what we do is maintain. How can you, like 75% of the time or 90% of the time you're maintaining your business? Like how do you maintain the production level and the consistency of doing the repetitive things over and over and over just to keep your business going and like pay the bills and keep you interested and stuff like that? And then like the little part of time is also like there for innovation, if you can find it and if you have the ability to spend that time to do it.
Yeah.
So
I feel like we should just end. Also, I do want to say this. I was looking at more stuff and I thought that this was interesting too. It says that entrepreneurs are managers as opposed to solopreneurs who are workers.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, maybe I'll say solopreneur.
I like that too.
I'll say solopreneur.
I like that too. Yeah, I think that it's good that we have this discussion because it is a thing,
Yeah. But also it's like, like I would probably say solopreneur first, and then I would say like craftsman second, and then I would say like artist like third, maybe.
Yeah. And I also think it's interesting when solopreneurs become entrepreneurs, or no, solopreneurs don't become entrepreneurs, but solopreneurs embody an entrepreneurial path while still having a solopreneur mindset.
That's like a Steve Jobs being like super techie or whatever, and then like moving into like, okay, now you have to manage a business that's like huge.
Exactly.
You're no longer in the tech side. You're not building hardware anymore. Your strategy now.
Yeah, it's like the machinist, like the warehouse worker becoming the CEO of a company.
Yeah.
Which I think is completely fascinating. And
it's a different skill set. It's a different mindset.
Completely.
And it's also a lot of people managing. If you want to go that route and you want to manage people and define the strategy and get those people under you to do that strategy and carry it out and execute it well, and you can manage them and get your vision across to them.
Yeah.
Or are you more like hands-on and in the nitty-gritty?
Yeah, that's like when people are like, "Oh, I really want to expand." I'm like, "Don't." Like, do you though? Do you want
to manage people, or do you really like the making and like the time to yourself, and you actually are involved in the decision making?
Right. And I think that you really have to know who you are to really be able to answer that question. Yeah.
Remember who you are.
Remember who you are.
I don't know if that's what it is, but it's like the Lion King where he's like, is that remember who you are? Or is it something who you are?
Oh, small, totally random tidbit. I was listening to Malcolm Gladwell's Revolutionary History, and they were talking about Tinkerbell. No, the Little Mermaid, and how it completely shows kids that like I don't know. It was just really fascinating. It was like how the Disney is just really good at like fucking up morality and like
subliminally, like
and like showing not real world situations, like how Ursula like basically creates a contract that is unbreakable even by Triton, who's basically God, and she like makes a contract with a minor and tells her she has to do slave labor if she doesn't uphold the contract, and how it's like completely not realistic in the real world. And these kids are like, and when kids watch like Disney movies, they're like 4 or 5, like they're super impressionable, and they're like, hey, by the way, this like law is it. Like there's no breaking this law. Even God can't break this law.
Do they notice that that's what's going on though?
No, but it's so subliminal that they like it gets like ingrained in their head. So I thought that was very interesting. I don't know why I started.
You mean like when they grow up, they're like, okay, now I'm figuring out these things about contracts. Oh, it's gonna remind me back to Little Mermaid that I watched like 50 times when I was a child, and this situation happened. So I know this is like a thing.
Well, it's kind of like because like you could be like, oh well, since it's in a contract, that's not breakable. You can't break a contract, which is complete bullshit because you can. But
I don't know. I don't take it that seriously, but
no, but I mean, like it is subliminally.
It's interesting.
Like, teaching
it's
that,
psychologically, it's kind of
psychologically, it's very interesting. So
I feel like it's easier for adults to look back at some of those things and just be like, this is what they're teaching. But I'm like, what can a 4-year-old brain really take?
Well, the thing about the 4-year-old brain and like brains of kids is that right then is the most impressionable time. Like, that's when you teach kids how to do second languages and like, certain things.
But are they paying attention to the dialogue and like trying to understand it? Or they like think it's cool that there's bubbles floating up into the into the top of the screen.
They do think it's
cool
that
the colors
bubbles
on the
exist.
Screen, like
they do think it's cool that bubbles exist, yes, but they can differentiate like morality and real life situations.
Okay. I just don't know enough about child psychology to speak on this, but that's just my thought process.
Valid. It's valid.
When you put an adult perspective on like a child's situation, it's just I don't know. All right. Anything else about the artistic mind, entrepreneurial, solopreneurial mind?
Yeah, I feel like we kind of went in a little wave situation there. We like got off topic, then we came back, but we didn't really come back to the regular topic. But I still think it was valuable. Would
you say you said you're more on the business side of it?
I'm more on the business side of it, but also I feel like I'm more on the business side of it mentally, but also physically. I'm like, I just want to be a fucking artist. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't have the strength for that either, you know?
Mm-hmm. Would you say because you work production now, your production side of it, like you're business minded with the production because you're focused on like just making what's told to you to be made, and then in your own work, you're more artistic?
No.
No?
No, because I'm always looking for ways to make things faster and make things more money conscious. That's just how my brain fucking works. I've always been like that. Like, how am I gonna make, like, even when I was hand building, I was like, how am I gonna make this super fast so that I don't have to work super hard at doing this and make more money doing it. So I do think that I'm more analytical and less artsy for sure. But at the same time, I'm lazy. So I think that's it. I think that I'm just like lazy.
So you're more entrepreneurial to make up for your laziness.
Correct.
To give you more time to be lazy.
Somebody once told me, I was like, I'm just lazy, and then it was a teacher in high school. He was like, are you lazy or are you smart? Let's talk about this. He's like, because lazy people are some of the smartest people I've ever met. So, yeah. Funny. I mean, it's kind of true though, because if you're trying to get out of a situation and you're trying to get it done as quickly as possible because you don't want to be working, you're going to figure out that shit and figure it out fast.
And I mean, figuring out efficiencies, like the intricacies of like, doing certain hand motions. Like if somebody's artistic, it seems like they'd be like, who gives a fuck? Like the end product is what matters. Yeah. It's not how you get there and how quickly you got there. It's more like, how's the end product look?
Yeah. And then when you approach, what I have found with friends is that when you approach specific situations like wheel setup or hand like setup, like the way your hands are or whatever, unless you approach it very delicately, they're going to be like, fuck off, I'm doing it the way I want to do it, but if you're like, it could be better this way, they're like, no, don't care. But if you approach it with a like a more,
what's going to benefit me? Like
right.
They're not going to get swayed by it. This is going to benefit me because.
Right. You have to take a how to win friends and influence people approach or and do it very delicately. So that's what I have found.
Which is the way that we look at how people are like throwing. Like if you're more efficiency minded, you're going to look at that and like that's where your feedback would be. Yeah. Well, that's what's in my mind when I watch people throw. I'm like thinking of how they did it or like how much pressure they're putting or the shape that it's coming to as they go through the steps.
How many pulls it takes them. And then when you talk to an artist, they're like, fuck you, I don't care. And I love that, but also it's infuriating. They're like, it's fine. It's fine the way it is. I'm going to take 20 minutes and you're just going to have to deal with it.
But I mean, that could be with anything. That could be with, if I was watching somebody do something on their computer and I was watching them highlight a piece of text, right click and click copy, I would be like, you can like use your keyboard to do that, right? Like double click, it'll highlight the word and then Command C, copy and then paste. Like, I mean, that's I've known to do that over the years of using computers, but like It's like, but, there's a more efficient way.
Advice. Artists
Rachel does not like that kind of advice. I'm like,
yeah,
you
artists
can do this.
Are the artist's worst advice is unsolicited. An artist's worst advice is unsolicited. You have to become engage in a conversation and be like, so what do you feel like are your weaknesses? What do you as far as throwing is concerned, how do you feel like that's going? Do you feel like your times are good? Do you feel like this? And then you give them the advice once they say something along the lines. But you can't just
go some of those things would never come up. That is never top of mind for somebody oh, I could be more efficient the way that I copy and paste text on a keyboard. That is never something that they're like, you know what? I'm slow at copying and pasting text. Is there a more efficient way to do this? It's no, that never crosses their mind.
Yeah, and so
I don't still going to be unsolicited.
I don't know how to not solicit unsolicited advice, but you really just have to work at it. You just.
How do you drop those little gems? And it's like,
how do you become how do you become a professional unsolicitor? We should probably end there.
There's probably an Oreo method here, or a sandwiching method of good, bad, good kind of thing.
A bad cop, good cop situation.
The way that you give feedback or whatever is start with something good and then do something you can improve here and then end it with something good. So it's okay, it's sandwich. So they can take the.
I've met 2 people in my life that are, okay. I've met 2 artists in my life that are bold enough to be I don't fucking care. When you tell them something, they look at you and they're like, thank you, I don't care.
And they're not are they mad at you because you said something? No, or they're just okay, I hear what you're saying, but I don't care.
They're slightly annoyed, but I would say that the majority of artists that are not that blunt are that's great, thanks. And in their mind, they're go the fuck away. and I
nobody asked you.
I appreciate the ones that are fuck you, I don't care so much, just because I've learned so much about how I approach people.
Totally.
And yeah, one of them I met in 2014, and she's been so great for my growth.
Yeah. I probably need a couple of those so that I wouldn't say I'm a habitual unsolicited advice giver, but I could see myself being that person.
Yeah.
And needing somebody to be yo, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
So that I'll be okay, I'll be more reluctant to give advice or whatever.
Advice, yeah. It is a hard lesson to learn for sure.
You definitely have to know the person of are they going to be somebody that wants it or not? Is this advice actually going to benefit them, or are they just going to see me as being a dick for saying something?
Yeah. Yeah, it's super tough. Tough to be in that situation. It's tough to be that type of personality too, that has so much information in your brain. Me and you both have just so much information in our brains. And to be oh, I can see that you're doing this wrong. I know that you don't want me to say anything. I'm not going to say anything, but in my brain, I am dying. I am dying. Sometimes I'll just set a tool down, or when I had students or something, I would just be just set a wire tool down, or the correct tool that they need to be using, and not say anything and just walk away.
Yeah. It's when you're teaching somebody and you're you could do this, and then they just blatantly don't. And it's they either you're trying to say you should do this to solve that problem.
This is also
or it's not even a problem to them. It's just it is what it is. But it's a problem to you because you're if I were in that situation, I would want to do this to solve this thing.
And then you realize that it doesn't matter. In the long run, it really just doesn't fucking matter. The way they're going to do it is the way they're going to do it, and that's okay.
And it's fine that they figure out that thing that you're telling them right now, 3 years down the road.
3 years. It's totally fine. I have to tell a funny story.
This is classic. For anybody sticking around this long, you're getting some gold here.
I have to tell a funny story because Rebecca, like, as we have discussed previously in this episode, Becca has an issue with not saying things. But so Rebecca was gone for like a week or something like that. And usually Chris is her husband is the one that strings the hanging planters, and she was gone that day for some reason, and Chris is stringing the hanging planters, and I walk past and I look at him, and what he's doing is he's putting the string, like, so the way we do it, I'm going to try and explain this verbally, is you fold the string in half, and then you do a little slip knot through the half that's closed. And then you don't tie it or anything. You just pull that through. Mm-hmm. So what Chris was doing is he was putting the end with the two pieces of string through the hole and pulling the string all the way through and then looping it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, if you just put the side that's closed through, you would just have to loop it and it would be a lot faster. I walked past him and I looked at him doing it and I was like, this could be faster doing it this way. And he was like, oh, yeah, that is a lot faster. And I texted Rebecca and I was like, I taught Chris how to do something a lot faster. And she's like, I've told him fucking 5 times to do it that way. And she's like, and he doesn't fucking listen to me. So I guess I just needed you to do it. And you know what? And I do that with Rachel too sometimes, where I'll like tell you to do something. And she's like, I've told him that. And I was like, just ask me.
Oh gosh, now I gotta be on the lookout anytime Becca's asking me to do something.
No, it was just about your beard.
It's like, wait, did this secretly come from Rachel?
Secretly, no, it was about your beard, and I said it. I was like, wow, your beard looks really good trimmed. And then you kept it trimmed for like 3 weeks. And she's like, I know. Oh, it was when we were talking about the NCECA picture. And I was like, wow, you look really great. Is it your beard or something? And then you trimmed it the next week.
Oh. That's funny.
Great.
Well, I mean, some of it's just like, oh, my mother-in-law likes it when it's like tightly shaven.
Oh yeah.
Like Rachel sometimes does. And then if it gets too long, I'll just pick at it and stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought that was funny. And it is funny how like people just listen to some people and then they just fucking don't.
Well, I think that's part of what we do here. Like,
yeah,
we talk. People can listen or they can't.
Yeah.
If they don't give a fuck what we have to say, they don't have to listen to us.
Right, exactly.
You're here to listen to us if you want. I don't care if you listen or not. Like, we're going to talk regardless, whether there's 5 people listening or 100 people listening.
Exactly. I mean, like, how else are we going to hang out?
And then, like, videos I will do of my work, like, I'm in my studio, in my space. I'm the only one talking. I'm talking through a form that I'm making, and I detail out how I make a certain thing and why I make certain decisions along the way and what helps me get to this end product, and maybe some of the reasoning behind like why I'm making it, or, some of the details that you might need to know if you're trying to do it. But like, I'm not imposing that on you, like critiquing other people.
Yeah.
Like trying to make that form and saying, you need to do it this way.
Right.
More like, this is how I do it.
You can do it if you will.
If you want to do it that way, this is what works for me. If not.
Okay, here's a question. If somebody, like, if you were doing like a demo or something for somebody that didn't ask, like, let's say it was one of your students and being like, hey, you could do it this way. If you didn't want to, that's fine. If they were like, I don't want to, would you just stop and leave? Because that's what I would do. I'd be like, okay.
Do you mean like if it's one-on-one, or like I'm throwing something and then
if it's like one-on-one, I'd be like, cool, you do you, and then I fucking walk away.
No. I mean, I'd just be like, okay, whatever. Let me know if you have any issues, or let me know if you have any questions or you get stuck.
A lot of people I feel like would finish the demo. I would not. I would be like, cool, and smash my piece and be like, walk away.
No.
If you don't want to hear what I'm talking about, which is fine. I don't want to talk about it. Like,
so you meet like a room full of people and then somebody says something like...
No, like if I was in a class of 6 people and I was showing one person how to do something and they were like, I'm not going to do it like that. I'd be like, okay. And just not do it. And be like if I was like, hey, do you want to see an alternative way of doing it? And they were like, yeah, sure. And then I start to do it and they're like, I don't think I can do that. Then I'd be like, okay. And I'd stop doing what I was doing and
and then you would smash your piece and then
yep, I would fucking walk away. I would be like, if you don't want to learn how to do it, I'm not going to teach you how to do it. You know?
I feel like that's creating an immediate awkward situation in the room.
I'm really good at that, actually.
I am not. I'm like, I'm a laugh along with it a little bit kind of guy. Like, yeah. And nod your head.
Oh yeah.
That made me think about So remember we used to do Carlos critiques, right?
Yeah.
Good old Carlos critiques. So obviously Carlos has not been around to do Carlos critiques as much, so kind of fell off. But I was thinking about doing like talking about certain pieces that I've got in my collection as well, of being like, hey, this is when I got it, this is who it's from, how it's made, whatever, and maybe like what I like about it. But I'm like, I don't know if that's going too I don't want to get too critiquey, because it's kind of like unsolicited, but it's just me talking about like a piece that I have. You know, is that something that you think would be... I feel like certain personalities would receive it well and certain wouldn't, and I don't know the personalities of everybody that I've got pieces from necessarily.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you almost want to say, hey, can I critique your thing? It's in my collection and I want to talk about it.
Yeah, I think that
you know
that's
what I mean?
appropriate to
Not
ask.
like critique. It'd be like a minute or something.
Yeah, because like I know that when we started doing Carlos critiques, everybody was like, have him do one of my mugs, you know? But I think it would be appropriate to ask.
Yeah. Those were kind of comedic anyways. It was just that was just kind of to be sort of funny. But
yeah.
Yeah. I was wanting to do it just for sake of talking about either their work and like the backstory of when I got it or what I remembered from buying it, and then maybe some aspects that like I look for when I buy work, and what got me interested in buying this piece specifically, whether it's the form or it's like the person that I bought it from or whatever, and that would like tell more of a story about that person.
Yeah.
And whatnot. So yeah, I think I might need to ask before doing that.
I think you should.
Okay.
Yeah. For sure. Okay, we should go. It's 2 hours.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah, this was a fun one. I actually really like this one.
Yeah, I like the open-ended nature. I was a little worried when we were like, all right, what are we talking about? Oh, we're going to talk about this one sentence. And I'm like, how are we going to get content out of that?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking too business oriented, Becca. I'm not artistic enough.
No, not abstract enough.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
That was good. I just found out that one of my friends' roommates has COVID, so that's exciting. And I saw her today. That's also very exciting. I was wearing a mask though, so that's good. She wasn't. So.
Was that like at work?
Yeah.
What are we naming this one? Episode 127.
Solopreneur versus entrepreneur?
No, not versus entrepreneur. Solopreneur versus artist. Right?
No, I feel like the solopreneur is the artist.
I still think this 127.
Wow.
I'm just going to name it Solopreneur.
Okay.
Man, we still need to do our we'll need to do our little recap. That should be interesting.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be at the house this weekend. Like, you don't want to bring a mic and stuff, do you? Like, do you want D on there? Do we know what?
We're not gonna have enough time. We know we're not gonna have enough time.
All right. Well, we're not gonna be doing anything on. We're not. Well, not Christmas Day, but like, I don't know what we're doing the day after.
Well, I think that we might leave and go see what Louisville has to offer. Because I've never actually like gone around Louisville.
Okay. Are you gonna do like a bourbon tasting or like?
I don't know.
Go around a part of the town or something?
Hotel Tango, that was the fucking bourbon.
Hotel Tango?
Yeah. I don't know what he wants to do. We'll see, because he likes to go out and like see new things. It's local to Louisville.
Hotel Tango Distillery. You mean Indianapolis?
Yeah.
Hotel Tango's in Indianapolis.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Nice. That looks pretty cool in there. You even got some cocktails and stuff.
Yeah.
Nice. I guess you see I started putting or maybe you saw emails, but I started putting more of the Patreon videos up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm back to putting them in there. Oh, we got one deleted pledge today.
Nice.
One deleted one. You said nice. That means they stopped their pledge.
Well, you know.
It's going to happen.
Oh my God, it's before 11 o'clock. Look at us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go because I'm hungry.
All right.
I'm going to make some spaghetti.
I'm going to go and throw some stuff. All right. Well, I guess I'll see you. I'll upload this. Which one's going live this weekend? Is it the Rachel one?
I think so.
Okay. And we still had that one short one. It was like business questions. Do we want to just hold that until? I don't think we did a like welcome kind of thing at the beginning. So
yeah, let's just hold it.
It's pretty like agnostic of
the
dates. Like it doesn't matter. So okay. All right. Well, I'll put this episode up here. Do you already have the audio version of our episode with Rachel? I don't think so. Or yeah, you do. It's up there. M4A. Yep, it's up there. Okay, that's good. Okay, well, I'll put this newest one up there, and you can do what you will with it. And then I'm bringing you some shot glasses, right?
Yeah, and I'm bringing pinch pots.
Okay, I was thinking of those little bowls, and like, do you want just the shot glasses, or do you like? Should I bring?
Well, I'm doing bowls. You have to do shot glasses.
Okay. Well, nobody's gonna get both, right?
Yeah. No, we're doing one shot glass, one bowl in each piece.
Oh, okay.
And then a mug. Okay.
That makes sense. Okay, I'll bring some. I'll bring an assortment. Colors. 4 to 5-ish. All right. Well, goodbye. Goodbye. Okay, bye.